From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
A delay in the confirmation process for Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh spurs debate in the nation's capital and here in Arizona.
Plus, the November elections are fast approaching, how one community program is reaching out to Valley voters.
And later, how an art exhibit in southern Arizona is uniting two towns separated by a border fence.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Matt Lively.
And I'm Jordan Daphnis. Thank you for joining us.
The next steps in the confirmation of Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh will now have to wait until Monday. That's when Kavanaugh and a woman accusing him of sexually assaulting her 3 decades ago will testify about the allegations. Kavanaugh has fully denied the claim. Members of the Senate Judiciary Committee postponed the Thursday vote after the committee agreed to hold a follow-up hearing with the two on Monday. Among those calling for a delay was Arizona Senator Jeff Flake.
I'm just happy that the hearing is going to be held. There was some push to stick to the original schedule and vote on Thursday, and I made it clear that I wouldn't vote. I wouldn't vote yes if we didn't hear her side.
Flake's counterpart, Senator John Kyle, was considered a Sherpa ahead of Kavanaugh's appointment. He has not echoed Flake's request to hear Ford's allegations as of right now.
A press conference to stop Kavanaugh was held at a Planned Parenthood here in Phoenix this morning. Organizers of different advocacy groups from across the valley came together to voice their opposition to the Supreme Court nominee. The groups originally planned on meeting at Senator Jeff Flake's Arizona office, but members from the Patriot Movement AZ caused them to move to Planned Parenthood. Even after the location change, organizers still were able to get their message across about Kavanaugh.
This latest accusation is just one more factor, but it's an important one, and it goes to the crux of the issue. Does Brett Kavanaugh believe that women are full, equal human beings? This suggests otherwise.
Both Kavanaugh and his accuser, Christine Blasey Ford, will testify on the allegations on Monday.
At the nation's capital, the Senate approved a wide-ranging bill that totals over $800 billion to keep the government open through December 7th and funds the military and many civilian agencies. The measure includes $600 billion for the Defense Department and boosts military pay by 2.6%, which is the largest pay raise in 9 years. The measure now heads to the House, where lawmakers are expected to approve it next week.
At least 30 Black and African American candidates will be on the Arizona ballots this coming election season. They are running for local, state, and federal offices. Reporter Micah Bledsoe has more on what it means for this community to be involved in government and the voting process.
In Arizona, African Americans and Blacks make up 5% of more than 7 million people, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Black leaders say voter turnout rates in Arizona have increased due to the community being and staying woke.
To stay woke, if you will, is to make sure that we are in tune with what's going on. We understand policy. We understand the significance of being involved, making positive changes in civil discourse, and being able to make change in a way that's going to help everyone.
Blackman is the first Black Republican candidate to run for a seat in the House of Representatives for Arizona's Legislative District 6. He says more African Americans are running for office because they want to make a change.
How the founders framed the Constitution is they want regular people to be part of the government, and I want to be an example of that to folks that want to get in and make a change.
Pastor Warren H. Stewart says the Black church has been a forefront of civil rights for the past 200 to 300 years in the U.S. and is a popular way to involve the Black community.
Well, in this church, every first and second Sundays, we have a person here to register people to vote. We participate in town halls where we have politicians and office seekers and office holders to come and talk about where they stand on issues important to African Americans.
Reverend Redeem Robinson of Community Hope Church also encourages people to educate themselves.
if we know the lyrics to music and know what's going on in these shows, take a few moments, 10 minutes, 20 minutes out of your whole year and research these candidates.
In Phoenix, Micah Bledsoe, Cronkite News.
Both Reverend Robinson and Pastor Storr are members of the African American Christian and Clergy Coalition. They meet on the second Thursday of every month to help inform people on voting.
For some, educating themselves on those running for office isn't as easy as logging on to a website. Cronkite News reporter Holly Bernstein shows us how one nonprofit organization is helping voters who can't see or hold a book.
Volunteers of Sun Sounds of Arizona read printed material to those who cannot read or hold printed material due to a disability. Now it's providing an audio guide to voters across the state.
Well, I don't know. It's just what it is. It's you know, I'm a happy person.
Connie Ryan works here at Sun Sounds of Arizona as an assistant volunteer coordinator. She has been blind her entire life.
Well, I haven't lived it all yet, but so far, yes.
Sun Sounds of Arizona provides an audio voter guide for voters like Ryan, who might not be able to read or otherwise access information about what is on the ballot.
To tell you the truth, it was a service that needed to be done.
Sun Sounds of Arizona Director Andrea Pasquale says when someone wants to find out what the candidate's statements are, they dial into the service.
And it gives them options. Do they want to hear state candidates? Do they want their local legislative district? And then they just take it from there and punch in the numbers.
Ryan says she used the service for the primary elections.
For a service like this is easier. I don't have access to a computer at home. I do here, but not at home. And at home I can listen to the voter guide, and I'm used to listening that way.
Ryan says it is important for everyone to vote.
It is our responsibility to pick our government. There are a lot of government programs and things that help people with disabilities, and we want to vote the people that sympathize with us in if we can.
Sun Sounds of Arizona is currently in the process of updating the current Clean Elections voter guide for the general election, and they anticipate the updates will be done by the end of this week. In the Broadcast Center, Holly Bernstein, Cronkite News.
President Donald Trump will visit the areas affected by Hurricane Florence tomorrow. That's as the Carolinas and Virginia are still reeling from the storm's impact. Strong winds, heavy rain, flooding, tornadoes, and damage. This is what Hurricane Florence, now downgraded to a post-tropical cyclone, brought to the Carolinas and Virginia. At least 34 people in 3 states have been killed. Arizona Urban Search and Rescue Team 1 is continuing operation in North Carolina. The team was recently redeployed to Trenton, North Carolina. Officials warn that the disaster is still not over.
We've been preparing for and living through Hurricane Florence for more than a week now. But this remains a significant disaster that affects much of our state. The next few days will be long ones as the flooding continues.
Forecasters say it could still be several days before rivers in South Carolina crest. Arizona State University just opened the new Biodesgn Institute in Tempe.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how ASU's new facility will help maximize Alzheimer's research.
And find out how a new food truck with a cause is helping the local community.
Join Emmy Award-winning CNN anchor Anderson Cooper as he receives the 2018 Walter Cronkite Award for Excellence in Journalism, attracting industry leaders from the media, politics, business, and education. The award luncheon is the Cronkite School's signature fundraising event. Tickets for the luncheon ceremony on Wednesday, October 17th at the Sheraton Grand in Phoenix are available for sale at cronkite.asu.edu/luncheon or call 602-496-0482.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
One of Phoenix's most iconic properties is getting a makeover. Creighton University has reached an agreement for the construction of a new health sciences campus at the Park Central in Midtown Phoenix. The project will include a new building and will eventually house nearly 800 students. The expansion will include medical and nursing schools, as well as training for occupational and physical therapy, pharmacy, physician assistants, and emergency medical services. Construction is expected to begin spring of 2019.
The Biodesgn Institute expanded its research into brain diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's at a new facility at Arizona State University. Cronkite News reporter Jimmy Jackson explains its goal to bring together thousands of researchers around the world to explore treatment and detection.
Arizona State University unveiled a new facility in its Biodesgn Institute that leaders say will help maximize research into Alzheimer's and other diseases that attack the brain. Joshua LeBayer, the executive director of the Biodesgn Institute, says researchers from around the world are working to find treatments and detect the disease in its early stages.
We have scientists here who are brilliant at doing animal models to study the disease, and we have scientists here who are doing what's called data science. Looks at large batches of data, if you will, on individuals with this disease to see if we can discern from that patterns that are important for understanding the disease.
With Arizona having the second fastest growth rate for Alzheimer's, according to the Arizona Alzheimer's Association, Ramon Velasquez, a postdoctoral student, says the facility offers the strength of teamwork.
I think that this institute will definitely allow for even more collaborations and also deciphering more about the actual disease process and hopefully finding treatments for the disease.
Eric Ryman, the director of the Banner Alzheimer's Institute, says the ASU Center will be one of the largest devoted to understanding a disease that is expected to increase 43% over the next 7 years.
We would like to create a destination center for the discovery of a broader portfolio of promising ways to treat and indeed prevent Alzheimer's disease.
The goal is to expand the institute to include another building.
We've got a very successful institute. We've got outstanding scientists who are doing very creative and important science, and we want to continue to grow. And if we're going to grow, we need to have a place to put them.
The new building has about 1,300 people and can handle several thousand more. In Tempe, Jimmy Jackson, Cronkite News.
The center will house cutting-edge technology like the compact-free electron laser, which will allow researchers to record images of molecules changing shape.
A local businesswoman is teaching people with Down syndrome how to cook vegetarian fare for a more sustainable community. Cronkite News reporter Samantha Lomi-Bao explains how these skills will help them sizzle both at home and on the job.
All right, are you guys ready? Chris Mill operates a food truck with a cause. Mill says she is inspired to teach people with Down syndrome how to cook at home or as a job.
My nephew, 12 years ago, was born with Down syndrome, and him and I have been cooking, and he's been staying overnights with me, and we've been working on cutting vegetables and learning the values of fresh vegetables, and he fell in love with it. And so through his passion of loving to cook and what he likes to do and what I like to do, it was a perfect match.
According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, 18% of people with disabilities were employed in 2017 compared to 65% of the abled population. Tucson resident Joseph Franklin says he was naturally drawn to the cooking class.
I like just to eat.
Mill says there are misconceptions that people with disabilities can only do limited work.
We had 4 children here cooking veggie fried rice on their own, and just to see that they can do that and they can create so much knowledge and help in society as they grow older just makes my heart so warm.
Mill calls it empowerment through employment and urges other business owners to follow the practice. In Phoenix, Samantha Lomi-Bao for Cronkite News.
Mill plans on having a hiring event next month. Her goal is to have at least one employee with Down syndrome working during every food truck event.
How you can help an Arizona rescue team.
Coming up on Cronkite News, rescue missions require a large team behind them. The Central Arizona Mountain Rescue Team is looking for new recruits.
And dry out, but we are expecting some storm chances coming in. Rain and cooler temperatures coming up next on Cronkite News.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. The 2018 election season has arrived. Join us for primary and general election debates. Right here, meet the candidates and hear their positions. Arizona Horizon, your source for what matters most this election season. Only on Arizona PBS.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs.
We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
Exploring, it's the lifeblood of the mission.
Human beings are a curious bunch.
What are we going to see when we get really close?
Wow.
Just because an idea is crazy, it's not necessarily wrong.
We were on our way.
You don't get anywhere until you've tested the limits.
That carries an intensity you can't imagine.
You could hear people just, whoa.
Oh my God, absolutely spectacular.
It's a rush.
We ask a lot of our heroes.
We are at a remarkable moment.
We're going farther than any exploration ever has.
After distressed hikers, fallen rock climbers, or stranded backpackers call 911, the rescue mission may fall into the hands of Central Arizona Mountain Rescue. As Sammy Gieber reports, many members of the group were inspired to join after they themselves needed help in the backcountry.
High-risk rescue missions take an entire team to pull off.
The goal of today is to give everybody a little more information on what the team is all about.
Which is why Central Arizona Mountain Rescue is looking for new recruits.
We hope that you have an interest and to turn in an application. They're airborne. They should be here in 90 seconds or so. Okay.
With about 60 missions per year in Maricopa County, members are called away from their regular jobs and even their families.
Have you ever seen a helicopter that close before?
Because the entire team, including Garrett Griggs, father of two, are volunteers.
Binoculars?
Yeah. There's people who need help who didn't expect to need help. Oh, Garrett is just full of life. You know, he's an energizer buddy that does not stop.
That may be because Garrett was on the other side of a rescue mission years ago.
Supposed to be a day trip. And we started early in the morning and we got to Four Peaks and we began the hike. That's only it.
Eventually, he and his friends found themselves on a mountain and couldn't get down.
After I was rescued, it's hard to use that word still. After I was helped, I asked about the team. I asked about who they were. Why are y'all here? Who are you?
Griggs joined the nonprofit and hasn't turned back since.
As much as 50% of the team either had some kind of event in their life where there maybe a fire crew or another mountain rescue team went out and helped them in the backcountry.
When the team isn't rappelling down caves, braving flowing waters, or airlifting out a group of 20 high schoolers.
Yeah, so it was definitely one for the books.
They're often working as law enforcement, firefighters, EMTs, or other service members.
At the heart of it, every single member just really is community oriented and they want to give back to their community.
In Phoenix, Sammy Giebers, Cronkite News.
Jensen says that the Superstition and White Tanks areas are where the rescue team frequents the most. He says that the sooner a distressed hiker calls, the better, and that all the services the nonprofit provides are free.
The National Weather Service in Tucson has issued a flash flood watch in effect from tomorrow morning through the evening. Widespread showers with periods of thunderstorms are expected to occur across southeast Arizona. The heavy rainfall expected will be capable of producing flash flooding throughout the day. And in Sedona, smoke from a wildfire that has shrouded parts of northern Arizona is expected to lessen this week after the last of the burnout operations took place last night.
For your weather update in the valley, here's Alexis Liao.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are currently sitting at 102 right now in Phoenix, hitting a dew point at 53. Now here's our future forecast. As promised, we're getting a lot of moisture coming up from the northwest where we can see up to a quarter-inch of rain by late tomorrow afternoon. Now for the highs throughout the state tomorrow, we're going to be at 88 here in Phoenix. Very cold day up in Flagstaff at 67, 74 in Shello, 81 in Tucson, and 95 in Yuma. Now we're going to be sitting below average for most of the week for the 7-day forecast. 88 on Wednesday with a low of 74. Getting up there for the weekend, nice and sunny throughout the week. 103 on Sunday, ending the week on Tuesday at 98. From the Cronkite Weather Center, I'm Alexis Liao, Cronkite News.
We're at the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month, and people all across the state are celebrating in different ways.
Coming up on Cronkite News, see how two towns on both sides of the border are using art to honor their heritage.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
I like working for Cronkite News because it gives us the opportunity to find a different angle on the same stories that every other news outlet is covering across Arizona. As students, we have the opportunity to cover issues in all across the state of Arizona.
It gives me a good chance to sharpen my skills, improve my skills, learn the techniques in a newsroom and in the programs and teamwork and technology, getting me prepared for the real world. And at the same time, I think we do a great job, make some great stories, do great journalism for the city of Phoenix and the state of Arizona.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
Join us each week on Catalyst, the show that explores new advancements, technologies, and innovations at Arizona State University that are shaping the future for tomorrow and beyond. Catalyst, Wednesdays at 9, right here on Arizona PBS.
In honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, an Arizona library is hosting an art exhibit that's breaking down borders. Cronkite News reporter Brittany Watson headed west to show us how artists from Arizona and Mexico are coming together.
Paintings, sculptures, drawings, and unexpected surfaces serving as canvas. Artwork that's united two towns despite being physically separated by a border fence. The San Luis Library is hosting their 5th annual art exhibition called Origins, and the theme is Art Without Borders, all part of celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month.
Bringing them together from Yuma, from San Luis, from across the border.
It's the first year the San Luis Library is collaborating with Mexican organizations, incorporating art from across the border. Melissa Huerta, curator and director at Museo Regional, makes that connection.
Being the bridge between the talent and the institution is like, if you're not an artist, you feel as if you're part of that exhibition and the art, even if you don't have a piece.
The colorful artwork exhibited shows there's no boundaries to what these artists can do, no matter from what side of the border they come from.
To me, it's very interesting to see the art, to see the different styles, and to see the different creations when people become creative.
This exhibit allows artists of all ages and experience levels to showcase their work.
Ariana Viega, a student artist featured in the exhibit, sees this as a way for people to learn more about Hispanic traditions.
Most of the artwork is about like Mexican heritage or Mexican people, and so it lets other people that aren't known with the culture to come and like see different point of views.
In San Luis, Yuma, Brittany Watson, Cronkite News.
The exhibit is currently open and free to the public and will run through October 15th.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, a special hour-long edition as the two candidates for Congressional District 3 face off, Democratic incumbent Congressman Raul Grijalva and his Republican challenger Nicholas Pearson. That's the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour. 1 year after Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico, the island government attempts to overhaul its devastated school system. That's Tuesday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.